Hey, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. Jimmy and Nath are the radio duo that chose their name from a $12 love calculator app. The pair went from community radio to national nights and now to the Today FM brekkie slot. In this chat with Antoinette Lattouf, the boys let us in on what it's really like working with your best friend and how one of them ended up in hospital from a radio stunt gone wrong, but they also share some of their favourite memories from over the years. Let's get into it.
Jimmy and Nath, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. I want to point out that you're the first guests that I have had that BYO a microphone and headphone.
And the problem was we screwed up all your systems.
You did. You came in here and just screwed everything up.
We thought we were doing the right thing by bringing our own stuff and being like, oh, we'll just make it easy for Ant and the team. And then as soon as we did it, the mics stopped working. We couldn't hear each other. We've been here for 3 hours.
We've actually got another meeting to get to, so thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been okay. Yeah. And I think it speaks about your characters because, Nath, you brought in some fancy headphones.
Yes.
And then, Jimmy, you were kicking it at old school with something that came in. I mean, is that even an original Apple or one of those aftermarket things you buy?
No, it was like an iPhone, maybe 4 headphones.
Yeah.
Like it's the aux cord as well, not the new whatever that.
It's from your iPod Nano.
So you're a bit low key, Jimmy.
Yeah, I just like the old school. I don't like the big things, not fancy. You know what I mean? Kick it old school.
He doesn't like to wreck his hair. You know.
What I also love is that you both respond to Jimmy and or Nath. How does it feel being so interchangeable?
Well, we've become so part and parcel with each other because this is, we've been working and building our brand and our radio show for over 10 years now. So we've become immune to it. Yeah. Like our own parents call us Jimmy and or Nath now. I was like, Mum, I came out of you and you don't know what my name is. So we've become, I think we've just become immune to it.
Yeah, I used to get pissed off because I'm like, it's not my name.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, it's fine. If people stop me in the street and go, Jimmy and Nath, I just go, hey.
And I've had people stare at me in the face and scream, Jimmy, loved the show last night.
Yeah.
And I used to, as Jim just said, we used to correct them. And now I go, thanks, mate. Thanks so much for listening. I'll let Nath know.
Oh, my God. Is it because you're just two white guys? Another pair of white dudes in radio?
2 white straight guys as well. Yeah,
yeah,
we've got the double.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
It must have been so hard for you then to break into the industry.
Well,
talk about all of the barriers.
No, we were just handed it.
Yeah. Red carpet, come on in, fellas.
We were just walking the streets and our bosses are like, are you straight and white and friends? And we went, yes.
And you said that I brought my own, headphones and mic. I brought my own silver spoon too.
It's very good. Very, very good. When it came to titling what your duo is, what is it about straight white male duos where somebody has to end in a Y? Usually someone ends in an A. It's like a flipper, blitzy, tritzy. Like, is that the key? Did you have to sit there?
Hamish and Andy, Fitzy and Whipper, American Rosso, Roy and HG. Am I missing any of the big ones?
Shazzo and the dog.
See, like there is a bit of a pattern to the names, no?
Yeah, I mean, I got Jimmy. My dad got Jimmy. His name's Graham though.
Oh.
And then I got Jimmy Jr.
Are you Graham as well?
No, I'm James.
Okay,
which makes more sense.
Yes.
But yeah,
Is that where Jimmy comes from?
Yeah,
genius.
Dad was it came from Dad was called Jimmy at golf. I don't even know how he got that or if it's from Graham. And then I was a little kid, I was Jimmy Jr. And eventually the Junior just dropped off through my other friends. And so that's how I got Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
there's a real creative genius story behind Nath from Nathan is you just drop the AN.
Yeah.
It's very clever because we just wanted a short, sharp syllable at the end. But when we first started, you talk about the name of the show, we were like, oh, do we need something creative? Like, should we call it like The Cage or, The Field with Jimmy and Nath? And we were like, okay. When we first started on commercial radio in Burwood in Sydney, we put our names.
Was commercial radio.
Not in
community
radio. Yeah. And they're not making heaps of money at 200.
I don't remember any commercials on that station.
No. Oh, it was Colin with On This Day, but it was just a reading.
It's not a commercial. There's a bloke from the library who would just, those books that have On This Day or like in the paper.
Yeah.
He would record it. He'd just read out all the On This Day.
100 years of like everything that happened
on this day.
The thing went
for 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
That's a good filler when you're on radio.
Yeah, but we would just fade it down and then we'd get in trouble because we'd be like, okay, thanks, Colin. When he got to like 1998, I'm like, that'll do, Colin. Yeah.
People remember the recent stuff.
But we put our names into a love calculator when we first started the show. And we originally put it in as Nath and Jimmy, and I think it came up like 3%. And then we put it in as Jimmy and Nath. and it became 98%. So we're like, that's the name of the show.
Yeah,
A love like one of those online love calculators.
It was an app. I remember I
Yeah.
paid for it. It was like $12.99 because I went.
Best bit of market research.
Well, I
you
was
could
like,
have done.
if you're gonna
We haven't claimed that back yet. We're waiting.
pay, I was like, I should pay for the app. There's plenty of free love calculator apps. But I'm like, if
Yes.
this is going to determine what our show is
Yes.
named, obviously money means success. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I paid for this shitty. But I was like, it doesn't make any sense because why would it change our chemistry based upon where you put your name in?
Yeah.
So imagine how many people had downloaded that, put their name in of their partner one way. I've gone, oh, we're not supposed to be
So
together.
you never know. If we put in Nathan Jimmy, we would still be at 2RDJ in Burwood,
Yeah.
fading down
right,
Colin with
yeah.
On This Day.
So you owe your success to this $12 app.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't remember what it was.
with inflation, we're
Believe it.
probably looking at about 1950 now.
Oh, probably 30.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So you've been in radio or building your radio podcast brand for about a decade. That places you guys in your 30s. I think before we unpack your history, I want to jump straight into the judgy stuff. As a millennial, what is it about Gen Z that you hate the most? Because it is a rite of passage as Australians to shit on the generation after us.
It is. And I don't know about your team, Ant, but our team are all Gen Zers, all of them. And so...
Oh, so you've got to be careful with what you say.
No, the completely opposite. We've just got a target now. Yeah. We've got a target.
Your producer is shaking his head. My producer is also Gen Z, not looking very happy.
Oh, believe me, half of the stories that we do are Gen Z have got an opinion on something. For example, yesterday on the show, we did a whole thing, which I was so devastated about, is Gen Z have come out and said that crop tops are no longer a thing. And we were like, what? They're going after our belly buttons. They're taking everything else, leave our belly buttons to be on display. And they said, no, if you wear crop tops, you are out of fashion. And we said, how dare you, Gen Z? Leave us alone.
I didn't know crop tops were out of fashion.
No, ask them. Look at them outside nodding
Crop tops,
away.
they're both nodding.
Yeah, nodding away.
How else do you show that despite your aging, you still have abs?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you've got a belly button piercing, so you
So we
can't
tried
imagine.
to-
Belly button piercing from 1999.
Exactly. Bring back the belly button, guys. No, we get called old a lot by our Gen Z.
Mine is still, it's just, it's a cliche, but I remember my grandfather would say to my grandparents said to my parents, you're lazy. You know what I mean? Your generation's lazy.
Yeah.
And then my parents said to me,
Yeah.
I'm lazy. And then I think they're lazy.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I don't know if actually anyone is lazy or we just look
It's
at
a
it.
classic. You don't know how easy you've got it.
Yeah.
Hey, back in my day, I didn't have a mobile phone until
I didn't
grade
have
11.
I
Yeah.
didn't have a calculator in my pocket. I had to learn
exactly.
things.
Having said that, I reckon Gen Z, we've got to cut them a bit of slack. I'm all here for a good pile-on. I enjoy a nice pile-on. But I think they do have it harder than us.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
economic-wise.
Absolutely.
Ours is not wonderful at economic opportunities.
So ours isn't that much better.
No, ours is not that
compared
much
to
better.
boomers
Yeah,
Well,
this is
I mean,
true.
but
who own 30 properties.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, just stop buying avocado on post.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think the financial situation gets harder as you get younger.
Yeah.
And we have been in the workforce longer than the than the Zers.
Yeah.
I was listening to something the other day. I think it was on Gruen Transfer, and they were talking about the fact that 30, 40 years ago, 3 times your annual salary bought you a house, and now it's up to 12, 13, 14 times your annual salary might get you an apartment, which is just insane to think about.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we probably need to give Gen Z credit for, they're at the front of the environmental protests, the Palestinian solidarity protests. So, I love a good cliche, but maybe a bit of a shout out to our producers and the like, because they're fighting the good fight while we judge them.
I feel
The ones demanding change.
Yeah.
I feel like they're vocal. I don't remember
totally.
a lot of people when I was early 20s, late teens, they didn't care about anything. If they didn't show up to protest, they didn't post
No,
that. They didn't,
as
much. It was
Yeah.
now I feel like you see so many young people out and about and talking about things and vocalizing things. So
At the forefront of
Yeah.
change now.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what we spoke about. It wasn't what we did growing up. And now I think, with exposure to, so many more outlets through, I'm going to show my age, through social media. But it just means people can be educated faster on things that they're passionate about.
or uneducated.
And
have an opinion.
And still have an opinion
And make it
anyway.
worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a platform.
works.
I'm going to talk about
It
something.
works both ways. Yeah.
Well, let's wind things back a little. Nath, you grew up as an only child in a country town.
Other one.
Jimmy.
Oh,
Jimmy. Yeah. round the
well,
other way.
I mean,
we
Nath
answered it
and
both.
or.
We answered it
you
both.
should have said
Yeah,
just Jimmy
Nath
and
and or
Just quick,
Jimmy.
I was about to respond and go, yes, I did, Ant.
We should have just done the podcast
It
as the other
would have been
person.
great. It would have been great.
Okay, so Jimmy, you grew up as an only child in a country town.
Correct.
And you moved to Brisbane for uni.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to the States.
Correct.
For college. Uni.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
The University of Alabama. I have the state tattooed on my hand there.
And what was that like? Alabama.
Wild. Like
Yeah.
the deep south. Racist, bigoted, the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Insane.
Interesting choice then.
Yeah, I had a friend who was at the University of Miami, and I went to visit him. That's a private university or private college, so it had about 14,000 students, whereas University of Alabama has 150,000 students. So it's called it's a college town. You can't even fly into Tuscaloosa. You fly into Birmingham, Alabama, then you drive out to Tuscaloosa. Like you mentioned, 150,000 students at a thing. I just wanted to experience that. I wanted to see what that was like. I visited my mate in a private one. I was like, this is kind of cool. You're in Miami. You're in a city. It's nice. I just wanted to see what the sort of that was like.
Amazing. And did you come back a Republican and an insurrectionist?
Yeah. Love my guns.
His red tie is underneath that black shirt.
I have Make America Great Again. No, it was. The one thing I will say that I found was great about America. Like I wouldn't have pursued comedy or radio or whatever this is, entertainment, without going there. They are very good at supporting each other.
I thought you were going to say they are very comical. Sorry.
Well, they are. You can laugh with them and mostly at them.
But no, like, if you want to do something, I found a lot of people like, yeah, you should do that, man. Like, if that's your passion, yeah. Whereas, like, here, like, I always thought I was kind of funny, like, growing up in Gundawindi, like, small country town. But my mates are like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and maybe you should be an accountant.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, we rip on each other. Tall poppy, we just constantly are bringing people down. Whereas they were like, you can do whatever you want. You're going to be the greatest radio guy ever. And I was like, oh, maybe I will. Which is very bizarre. It's a big different culture thing.
We shun people. I don't know. I'm sure you've experienced it as well.
Oh, I have.
But we shun people for wanting to do something that's a little bit outside the box, particularly in the entertainment space.
Yeah.
Like, oh mate, it's Grant Denyer, Dave Hughes, insert white comedian here. Has been doing that for. Don't worry about it, mate.
Yeah.
It's like do something else. Whereas over there, it's they champion you.
Well, I want to talk about your upbringing, Nath, because you went to Newington College,
yes,
and then the University of Sydney.
Yeah.
I mean, you did it tough in the ghetto.
Yeah,
odds were against you.
Just
I mean, how did you achieve this success?
Very it was very difficult. Well, I grew up in the Shire.
That's quite the trifecta.
Yeah. I am going to be escorted.
How about them rights?
I am going to be. I knew how to swing a baseball bat at 4. So I went to school in the Shire, and pretty much my entire family, in very Shire-like, went to Woolooware High, and that's where I was always wanted to go. And then I was playing rugby at a reasonably high level, and ended up getting the opportunity to get a scholarship to Newington, because financially our family weren't in a position to send me to a school like that. So the only way that I was going to be able to go there is if I had a scholarship. And I remember I got offered this scholarship, and I had this conversation with Dad, and he's like, "Mate, we've never had the opportunity to send somebody in our family to have an opportunity to private education, something like that." And I almost ran away from home. I did not want to. I had no interest. I was like, all my friends went to Laguna Street Public School. I wanted to go to Woolooware High. I wanted to play rugby league. I wanted to surf, and I wanted to be an electrician like my dad and my dad's dad and my dad's dad's dad and my dad's dad's dad. Every male in my family is an electrician. I'm the only failure who went into entertainment. And I can't change a light bulb. And then I remember my dad.
Nath once asked me why the dishwasher wasn't working, and it was because it wasn't turned on at the
Oh, wow.
So limited.
You are ashamed to your family.
I called Dad. I literally called Dad yesterday because our dryer stopped working. He said, if you plugged it in, I go, there's the one. God, you're a genius. But I remember And my old man is, Jimmy knows him really well. He's just a big, cuddly teddy bear. He's just me as another human being, and he's one of the most caring, gentle giants you'll ever meet in your life. Give you the shirt off his back.
Yeah.
It's a big shirt, but he'll give it to you. It'll cover 9 of you. But I remember he came in and sat me down, and I was only young. I was only 12, 13 years old, and he's like, mate, look, I just want you to know you don't have to go if you don't want, but I just want you to let you know that
Here's an opportunity.
Here's an opportunity that no one's ever been presented before. So, if you want, you can take it. Long story short, I obviously took it, and then went to school, which at the time was really good. And there was, I was really fortunate with a lot of opportunities that I was given there, playing rugby educationally wise. And then got the opportunity to study law at Sydney Uni, which was never the plan. I wanted to be Jules Lund on Getaway. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you knew entertainment.
I knew I wanted to be in it. I just didn't know how to get. I was so naive to how it worked. I just remember watching Getaway and being like, oh, how good would that be to go to Thailand, walk out of a pool and get paid to do it? Amazing. Yeah. And then I ended up getting the mark to get into law, and everyone always laughs at me that law was my tack on because I wanted to do media communications, and I got the mark to throw law in there as well. And I was
that's true, Laura.
I was woeful, so bad at it.
Yeah, right.
So bad at it. I mean, there was parts of it that interested me. Don't get me wrong.
Did you graduate?
I graduated.
That's pretty epic.
It took me a long time. We moved to Tassie for the show, and I actually finished it at University of Tasmania.
Yeah.
But I eventually did finish it. But the passion was always the media side. I loved writing. I loved creating. I loved the advertising space. All that was where the passion was, which is where the internships and the community radio and eventually meeting Jim came from. And then just toiled away till I failed a few subjects, and then eventually got through law, which now allows me to do one joke that I do all the time, where any time that we pitch something to our bosses that they don't want us to do, I go, just check with legal, it's fine.
Oh, my God. So, Nath, were you outside protesting and crying over the news that Newington was going co-ed?
It was honestly
a really tough day for you.
I've never been more embarrassed in my life. Like all that. Like we, a lot of my friends still do have connections to the school. A lot of them don't. And the more and more I saw it on the TV, I remember having conversations with, because I loved my experience at school. I loved it. I was so lucky with so many incredible teachers who I'm still really close with and who were mentors for me, both, educationally and, morally as a person, and phenomenal experience. But then when I see that, I go, that undoes so much good work. It undoes so much good work. And it was embarrassing. Like when I'm watching these old white men crying at the front going that, it's going to ruin the opportunities for their kids to go to a school. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The school, we're not knocking the school down. We're not going to stop offering certain subjects. We're not going to, get rid of teachers. Nothing is going to change. In fact, we're moving. You talk about change. We're moving in a positive direction with change. And it's, particularly with everything that's going on with domestic violence and stuff, I think it's, more important than ever to have, that connection between both male and female in your formative years within school. And you see, a lot of these horrible stories are, a lot of them are private school kids, private school kids who haven't, been exposed to working with the opposite gender from an early age. So in my opinion, it only has benefits.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, no, I wasn't at the front protesting. And I am sorry for the people who saw the ones that were.
So let's skip to the part where you two meet and realise you have a good dynamic and want to work with each other. When did that happen?
We met at Nova. Nath was working there. I'd moved to Sydney because when I came back from America, I was like, I should probably try and do something in the media space. But I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. It just happened. Also, a friend of mine was moving from Brisbane to Sydney, and he was like, "There's a third little like bedroom under the stairs, Harry Potter-esque." He's like, "We basically won't charge you any rent if you want to crash there." Just came down, met Nath at Nova. Hated Nath when I first met him. He was big, muscly, blonde hair.
Didn't have a gun.
But then they'd also told me like
used to it.
They were like this, he's muscly, he's smart, he was doing his law degree, he went to this private school, like just the complete opposite of my life. And then like I'm also very I'm an introverted extrovert. I like to recharge my battery to then pick where I want to, use that.
And you didn't want to use it next to me.
Oh, this guy, like I remember we were in a car park.
I picked him up and gave him a big hug.
No, yeah, he ran up to me. He's like, Jimmy, welcome to Sydney. How are you? Like, so much energy. And I was just like, oh.
I was like, I'll show you my favourite sushi place.
Yeah, like physically, like grabbed me by the arm and was like, there's a sushi. We're going to have sushi together. I'm like, I don't know you.
Why were you that nice to him?
I just felt like I wanted to, bring people, if these people were going to be part of, our working community and stuff, I wanted them to feel welcomed. And I guess that was my way to make people feel welcome. And again, I go back to my old man who is exactly the same.
Yeah, right.
Throw his arms around anybody and bring, like
just a bit extra.
Just a bit extra. And, you don't have to earn trust or friendship with me. I'll give it and you can just use it.
Like even walking down here, so where this podcast studio is, it's a few levels down from these are our offices here. This is where Nathan and I do the radio show. Walking down, I was with our producer, Jared, and we were like, Jared's like, it's time to go. So now I'm walking with Jared just chatting. Nath can't do that. Nath has to stop and chat to people and hug them and how are you? How you been? Like that guy.
How's the family?
Like that guy that I met that is still that guy today. Like he wants everyone to just have the best life. Like life is just this wonderful experience and he wants to share his positivity. At times it drains me, but there are times when it energizes me and I'm so fucking lucky to have him as my best mate. But that's the guy he is. That's who he is.
And look, I dare say it's rubbed off on you a little bit because when you walked in, you walked straight in and gave me a hug and we've never met.
Hey, that's my boy.
Look
that's
at that.
My boy, hey?
Yeah. Look at that, Jimmy.
Well done, grasshopper.
Well, someone told me once, like you surround yourself, like your close friends, like the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
It's people you have stuff in common with, but it's actually also people that you want something from them. You see something in them, some sort of personality trait, and you're like, subconsciously, I have this person around me to study and watch them and see how do I take that from. Because when I first met people, I never hugged, I never handshake, but life is. I actually think life is shit. Like it really is, and I think there are so many awful things that happen in the world, and you make a choice then to try and bring a bit of positivity, a bit of niceness in, and that's something that Nath's been so good at, showing me and inspiring me to do better, to be better around other people.
And I mean, that goes back both ways as well. And like there are, countless things that I've been able to upskill myself with based off, Jim being my best friend and just teaching me things.
Like what?
Particularly, we run Jimmy Nath is a business.
Yeah.
So, and one thing I struggle with is, having hard conversations, either defending, the worth of the show, be it, in contract negotiations or standing up for what we know is right and what we need to put on the best show or, outside of the show to succeed to the next level and to kind of have, just for lack of a better term, that bit of dog in you. And, I've always been ambitious and wanted to work hard, but I've never been able to generate that energy towards, more serious things of being like, okay, you need to fight for this. And people aren't going to be happy and people are allowed to not like you and not be happy. And that's definitely something that he's helped, grow within me is, not everybody has to have a big smile on their face and be stoked. And I don't have to wear everybody's emotions. And if somebody's down, it's not on me to bring them back up. Because maybe they don't want to be. And that's definitely, something that Jim's taught me and continues to teach me and has helped grow me as a human being as well.
Yeah, and I guess not everybody will like you and not everybody will find your type of comedy funny. And that's something about being in the public eye you have to be comfortable with. People,
scrutiny.
Scrutiny and people not liking you. I want to talk about some of those stunts that you do because they're pretty wild. What has been your most favourite radio stunt?
I mean, we've done so many. There is one that we talk about all the time, which we did a long time ago because we did breakfast radio in Hobart for a very long time. And in Hobart, there's a mountain, Coonayi, Mount Wellington, right in the middle of the town, the city. And we were the first radio show to ever broadcast from the top of that mountain. Yeah. And I remember when we were up there, and this was the stunt was, I guess, broadcasting from the top. But one thing...
Middle of winter, it's snowing
middle of winter,
up there.
freezing.
Like
mind you, we were wearing budgie smugglers. And so that in
Not
itself...
for the whole show, but we wore budgie smugglers.
That in itself is a stunt. But in radio, people go, oh, how do you know how many people are listening? And we do have ratings which are very archaic, and there's only a small sample size that fill out books. But it was... What I'm about to tell you is the first time that we've ever had instant... indication of how many people were listening to our show. So we were on top of the mountain. It was pitch black. It was like probably 6:40 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I remember 6 a.m.
And we were doing this thing where we were like, flash your lights if you're listening to the show, because we could have it. We had a 360 degree view of all the streets and city around us. And Jimmy had brought binoculars. So this was planned. Jimmy had brought binoculars, and we were like, okay, hopefully with the binoculars we can see cars flashing their lights. And Jim stood up there and goes, if you're listening to the show, flash your lights. Now, in radio, there's a 7-second delay. So, and we forgot that. So he said, flash your lights, and no one flashed. And we're like, shit. Nobody's listening to the show. And then
you can see cars.
Yeah.
You can see cars driving. All over
Yeah.
town.
But then, Jim, I remember we were live on the air, and Jim goes, "Oh my God, Nath, I can see somebody flashing their lights." And this is live on the air. And then I go, and I just whacked the binoculars out of his hand, and
You didn't need the binoculars.
Taylor Swift concert of all these cars, 360 degree view, thousands of people flashing their lights at the exact same time. And it was, I don't think we didn't even speak for 20, we didn't know what to say.
Yeah, even now, like, you know, we sit in the studio, like, you know, it's just me and Nath. Nath presses the buttons for the show. So it's, you know, you do at times forget how many people may be listening.
Yeah.
So in that moment, it was like we were live on air and you saw all these cars
This
light up.
sea
And I
of
was like, wow,
flashing.
all these cars are listening to us right now. It was a very, very surreal moment. Very cool.
Thousands, all like you couldn't. Everywhere you turn, there was just lights flashing, and we're like, "Wow!" It was just that. It was the first time that we've had, you know, some sort of instant indication of how many people were actually listening to the show at that particular time, which was crazy.
What about any stunts or pranks that have gone wrong?
Yeah, Nath dislocated my shoulder.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
What did he do? He dislocated your
My
dislocated his shoulder.
Literally,
Yeah, he had a shoulder reconstruction. Yeah, that was me.
mangled me.
Yeah, that was me. We were doing some content filming with the Sydney Roosters, and ironically, we were.
Did you crash tackle him or something? What did
Well,
you do?
we were doing all this tackling with them, and the training was over. It was done.
Yeah.
And we were getting hit by these big, you know, professional athletes who had 40, 30 kilos on us, and we were unscathed. Like, you were doing backwards.
Yeah,
you were
yeah, I
getting
mean,
hit
yeah,
so
Jimmy,
hard.
why did you think that was a good idea?
There's things that I've done that I wish I didn't do,
Yeah.
but I just
Yeah.
didn't want to be in the meeting. Or I'm in the meeting and mentally I'm not there, and so when people pitches it, I
You
just
were
go,
just like,
yes.
yeah,
Well, to be
sounds
fair,
good.
The
Yeah.
dislocation of the shoulder was an unplanned part right at the end of the training.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the professional part, like professional athletes running at me, like 130, 40 kilo men
Yeah.
over the top of me, and I hadn't hurt myself. It was just at the end when we were kicking a football around, someone kicked the ball towards Nath and I. Nath hit me from behind. It popped out. But then when I fell down, because
popped
my
out
shoulder was
again.
already out, like
Oh
I
my
ripped part of my
gosh.
bicep, my thing.
Mm.
And then we called an ambulance, and the ambulance was like,
2 hours away.
yeah, well, you're not an urgent. There's people that have been stabbed and stuff. So it was like 2.5 hours away.
So then you stabbed him.
Yeah, so I stabbed him, and I was like, I don't know how to fix this.
Is it?
Where's your kidneys?
Yeah.
Bang. But,
So like
Makes
Nat,
sense. That's what best friends
but
do.
he was like, it was a blood curdling. He was in and out of consciousness, floating in and out
Oh,
of
like that.
consciousness.
Oh, wow.
So
it was so painful. And like, yeah, Nat from our Fun and Games had to drive the car. It was the listener car. It was
Yeah.
the listener car.
Yeah.
The Jeep.
So I'm holding him in the back seat, trying to comfort him as much as possible. He screams. Nat's like mounting curbs and stuff to get to
Yeah.
the nearest hospital. And the funniest thing, and then obviously, you know, we went in, he had to go under to get it pushed back in. He had that many drugs to knock him out. But the one thing he said in between the screams, it was about like hours of blood curdling scream, was, make sure you film this.
Yeah.
And we
Oh, because
turned
you
it on.
know, great content is great
Yeah,
And
content.
it was. And it
We-
was fantastic.
No, we
content.
didn't use any of it.
Yeah.
It's not well. Like I'm crying, screaming, like it's, and you can, it
Yeah.
just looks mangled. Like it was,
Mm.
we didn't use any of that. We
Yeah.
used the hit when Nath hit me, and that's
Yeah.
posted on the socials, but we didn't use
But,
anything else.
Did you cop flack for that? Or I guess everyone realised it was an accident.
Yeah, I mean, everyone realised it was an accident. I felt horrible, though.
yeah.
Oh, God, I felt so bad. Yeah.
The only thing I wish didn't happen was Nath was
dislocating the shoulder.
No, look, that's fine. Things happen. And I've had a lot of injuries playing sport growing up, and things happen. Collision
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But the thing that I wish Nath didn't do was that night. So I've had I can't, like, they kept giving me green whistles. I'm still in pain. They're giving me morphine. I'm still in pain. They took me into the ER to then put me under with like the
Yeah.
gas. I still didn't go under.
They couldn't knock
I was
him
in
out.
that much pain, that much adrenaline was there. Like I counted back from 10 and I got to 0, and they're like, "You're still awake," because it was just a mess. Anyway, I got home and Nath was doing the show with Abby Chatfield at the time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you thought it was a good idea to have me on. Like I'm at home, drugged out of my mind. I can't even remember anything I said. And Nath got, not once, crossed to me at 7
Crossed him
p.m.
twice while he was
I'm
drugged
like,
up.
because we did this
But
like
show business doesn't
and I'm
stop.
like, and then crossed back to me at 9. How you doing now,
It was
Jim?
worse. It was worse. I think the second time I had to end the call because we couldn't understand. Not that you
I'm
remember.
yelling.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and then like I remember
Sorry, I shouldn't
in a
laugh.
meeting, like it was like a week later when I came back to work, like like it wasn't everyone else like Jimmy. I don't know if it was a good idea for you to be on the show that night. You were pretty drugged up. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. He kept calling me. Why would I want to go on the?
Oh,
There's also
wow.
broadcast rules about putting someone on air that is.
Who's like might have broken a rule
Yeah.
That was the only issue I had.
Yeah.
Everything else.
I mean,
was,
that's the physical. I mean, I've bogged cars before. We did an outside broadcast on a beach, and I thought it was a good idea to drive the car down onto the sand, which got stuck there for then the remainder of the show. And we got rid of all our content, and we just tried to get people with tow trucks to come down, which they did.
Yeah, cool.
And unbogged the car. We've had a plethora. We almost decapitated a guy on a bus accidentally. We've had a plethora of things. If things aren't going on wrong on our show, we're not doing enough risky stuff.
Right.
We're not pushing the envelope enough, which is what we like to do with our content.
What I'm hearing that you also obviously like to do is that connection with the audience, which, as I know, being in a studio, you can forget who's listening and how many people are listening. So that brings us to live shows, because that's, I guess, a thing that when you did radio, you don't necessarily expect to do, but in podcast land is very much a great way to connect with the audience. How have you found live shows?
We love them.
Yeah.
We love them. Any opportunity we can get to connect with our audience via the phone with buy-ins and people calling on 131060, or when we do Born Funny, which is our podcast live, like, to us there's no greater feeling.
Yeah, and Jimmy, what's your audience like when you because that's when you really get to look around the room and go, okay, this is who listens to us.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. But we did a show. We did Born Funny at Melbourne International Comedy Fest.
Yeah.
And it's good to like.
Well, that's a bit of a more mixed crowd, no?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
the comedy festival
Comes
is also
in.
a mixed crowd.
Yeah.
But I do like but you know who's a super fan. So like when we're
Yeah.
standing there and I like to chat to people before we go on live and
Yeah.
and you see who listens and it does surprise me. Like I just think at times like it will be just straight dumb white men.
Yeah.
Because we're two straight dumb white men, but we
Yeah.
have a very
Our
diverse audience.
our female audience is our strongest audience.
Ah, okay.
20 to 50 female is our biggest audience.
audience.
Yeah.
Mm.
On social media and on the show, which
Yeah,
is
that's interesting.
insane to us. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. And Jim was touching on it there, but the cross section of people that show up to, our live shows, be it for the radio or for the podcast, it still baffles us all the time. Like, we have families, we have, 80-year-old Betty, we have,
Yeah.
27-year-old Steve. Like, it's a real cross section of so many different people who just want to be a part of the joy that we hopefully create. That's definitely the buzzword of our show, is that we just want to just create some joy and a little bit of escape from the monotony of people's lives.
And what sort of joy do you have planned? I'm sure you sound like ambitious guys. Surely you want to expand your Jimmy Nath empire.
Yeah, look, we've always wanted to treat radio with respect. I think a lot of people get into it after something, whether it be they're professional athletes and their careers come to an end, comedians, they just want some bit of side thing, reality TV, it's like, I can do this now. The great radio shows, use Hamish and Andy, for example, like they did a lot. They put their heart and soul into that, and it wasn't just radio, it was getting in the caravan, going around Australia, going overseas, gap year. That's something that Nathan and I, try to emulate ourselves. But now, 10 years in, there's still a lot we want to accomplish in radio, but we feel like we're sort of, solidified. But yeah, we've had conversations about releasing a book. We had a TV meeting the other day. We want to diversify and have sort of some other, things. We can't say too much, but some of those things look very promising.
Yeah, it's always been, our show's always been one, and somebody told us this once, and we've kind of held on to this metaphor for a very long time, is in radio, there's kind of two real ways to do a radio show, and both have incredible success. You can either theoretically be on a stage and allow people to come and watch you, and they're looking up and watching your performance. I would argue a Kyle and Jackie O is a show like that, right? And they have incredible success. The other style of show, which is the show that we like, is imagine you're at a table at a bar and everybody can pull up a seat and be a part of the conversation. In fact, we invite people to pull up a seat and be a part of the conversation. That's absolutely the show that we go for. Again, both can have success, but we find the funniest and most entertaining and the content that brings the most joy is the content brought by other people to our show. It's yes, we're allowing people to spin their wheels and have that platform, but they're the laugh out loud moments. It's not actually us. Yes, we throw them the ball, but they hit it out of the park, and that's what we love.
And finally, Jimmy, Do you even quietly, although I'm going to ask you to share it now, look forward to paying Nath back and breaking or dislocating something of his? Fair's fair.
Many people have said that, but I do know the big fella quite well, and he doesn't have a malicious bone in his body.
Doesn't mean you don't.
Yeah, I do though. I do, but I know that he didn't do it on purpose. So, and I know that we will continue to do stupid stunts, and it's only a matter of time before he himself.
I get my just desserts.
I do it or someone.
Yeah,
a true story. We were in a meeting with Harvey Norman once, who wanted us to do some advertising.
Yeah.
And this is true. Nath pitched jumping out of an aeroplane attached to a washing machine
to promote their new washing
machine or whatever it was, and but people this is just dumb, and then it's like, no, I've looked at weights, and if the tandem, and then I have one of the
I've done all this
empty
research
it out, we could do it and I'm just like, this man,
and I checked with legal
He's
enough.
unhinged.
He's unhinged. He wants to jump out of a plane with a washing machine attached to him. So I don't need to plan anything bad to happen to him because he will do it to himself.
To be fair, Jerry loved it. Legal didn't like it.
Yeah.
So it'll happen. It'll happen.
Well, I look forward to the day.
Yeah.
I'll tag you in the video.
Thank you. It has been fabulous chatting with you guys. Thanks so much.
Ant, we adore you. Thank you so much for having us.
And I love that you call me Ant straight away. Kids in primary school called me Ant. I haven't been called Ant since then.
Really?
So straight in, Nath,
well,
calling me Ant.
We went to
I love
primary
it.
school together.
There we
I don't know
are.
if you remember me, Ant.
That is it for this episode of The Weekend Briefing. It's a place where we have the opportunity to get to know the interesting and influential people behind the headlines. We want to hear from you. Make sure you leave a comment below, like and subscribe. Catch you next week.